Today is just the day of big fucking dubs, and it's not going to be just exclusively with this video here. Everything we're going to be talking about today is just going to be wins for just, I don't know, common sense and accountability and just good old common fucking freedom, because it's coming hard and fast, and hey, it's even going to be pouring out to tomorrow because there are so many things that I want to talk about, but there's only 3 videos that can be put out in a day. Otherwise, if I do any more than that, then it's just fucking overkill. So we already got something planned for tomorrow morning, so it'll be out there early enough. But we gotta talk about Biden taking his long weekend. It's so nice that he at least stopped by the White House, because at time of recording he's either just hopping on the plane to go out to Delaware for the weekend, because there's been reports that he's having a tough time sleeping, not because of what's happening in Afghanistan, not staying up late at night thinking about all of those stranded Americans that are over there. No, it's just the bed in the West Wing is uncomfortable. He just needs to be back in Delaware because Pops needs his 18 hours of sleep a night or some shit. But yeah, happy Humanitarian Day. He managed to get up there and croak something out. Well, not him, but the administration at large, which is I don't know who's actually pulling the strings at this point, because there's a big gaping, and I use the term gaping to have a double meaning, sitting at that table right now, and it just begs the question, why is it there right now? Well, we'll get to that shortly. President Joe Biden celebrates World Humanitarian Day. What just a perfect timing. On Thursday, while Americans are trapped in Afghanistan after Sunday's collapse, the White House wrote, not Biden. Remember, whenever these statements come out, they come from the White House, the administration. It's never directly from Joe Biden. He's only had 9 or potentially 10 with that George Stephanopoulos interview, which we're going to get to quite shortly. He's only had 9 or 10 interviews. When comparing and contrasting with Trump during his first term, he was up in like the 40-45 mark. But Biden, the most honest and transparent administration of all time, right? 9 fucking interviews. The White House wrote in a statement, tribute to the humanitarian workers and everyone on the ground advocating for and delivering life-saving aid to the most vulnerable every day. How could you possibly write that? What level of zero self-awareness? Like, that has to be in the negatives if you wanted to write that right now, all things fucking considered. It's not even a real holiday, let's be completely honest. It's like fucking National Donut Day. Like, fuck off. This year, more than 235 million people are stranded. Oh, no, that sucks. In over 56 countries are in need of humanitarian assistance and protection. I can think of about 15,000 who are in dire need of assistance right now, but okay. Aid workers have responded to historic numbers of people fleeing political repression, persecution, armed conflict, gender-based violence, and natural disasters. Yeah, except if you're Cuban or Haitian or partially Afghani, then need not apply. But if you're Mexican, Guatemalan, El Salvadorian, Honduran, come on over. Make sure you crank that voting knob over there to Democrat on your way over, because we know the rest of them aren't going to play nice. But it's so nice that they took some time out of their day to switch up the lie, instead of saying, we couldn't possibly have foreseen anything like this happening, to just, lies of omission. But here's what Biden actually said today, because, before he had to hop on his plane and he had to take off, he at least hopped up on the podium. He didn't really take any questions because that's not his style. Biden says Al-Qaeda, remember them? Yeah, they're a bigger threat than the Taliban, because the Taliban are at least playing nice and idiots are falling for it. But okay, claims group in existential crisis. Is this projection? I think it's projection. That's what it reads as. President Joe Biden says that there's a significantly greater threat from Al-Qaeda and its affiliated groups. Can he name them? No. Let's not make him try to organize letters together in a sentence. That never goes well when he takes unscripted questions off the top of his head. In other countries than the Taliban and Afghanistan, as he defended his administration's turbulent withdrawal. Yeah, that turbulent withdrawal, that fucked up situation, that has only stimulated and strengthened their resolve. It's created a total power vacuum, which you did. And it's like, we had to pull out of Afghanistan. Everybody was telling us we had to. Trump just already said he was going to. Yeah. He also had a plan. Mike Pompeo had a plan, and you were like, nah, orange plan bad, and just fucking chucked it out because you're dumb. In an interview with ABC's Good Morning America, Biden stressed that the United States should shift its focus on places where terrorist threats are considered the greatest. At home, right? Yeah, we'll talk about that fucking MAGA terrorist later. Fucking Christ. Twitter should just be nuked. There's a significantly greater threat to the United States from Syria, East Africa. Keep that in mind because those will be the new places that go in and get bombed. The president said on Wednesday there's a significantly greater threat from other places in the world and from the mountains of Afghanistan. Yeah, because the biggest terror threat in the world wasn't actually body bagged in Afghanistan. That was in the mountains of Pakistan. So he's actually right for a change, just for the incredibly wrong reasons. We should be focusing on where the threat is the greatest. We can continue to spend trillions of dollars, and you will, and have tens of thousands of American forces in Afghanistan. You're going to be doing that with those forces. It just might not be in Afghanistan right now. I'm sure it'll eventually get back there. When we have North Africa and West Africa, the idea that we can do that and ignore these looming problems, growing problems, is not rational. Why is that your problem? Had a plan to start withdrawing troops, okay? If you want to have your bases, the 800 of them that are around there, to just kind of be little outposts and make sure that everything's going along fine, that's all right, okay? Because we can't just expect the United States to start pulling everybody out of everywhere and there not being a fucking power vacuum, okay? You wanted to get out of Afghanistan because you thought that mission was accomplished a decade ago. I understand. Should there still be a little presence there? Perhaps. Should there be a base there? Should be some kind of headquarters or some kind of spot of operations? I would like to hear the argument for it, because I could see the argument against it as well. But then there's that looming threat of the big red dragon coming over from China, because as soon as that power vacuum is created, all of these troops, all of this infrastructure just gets fucking yanked out of the ground. They're coming in. They're swooping in. If it's not them, it'll be Iran. If it's not them, it'll be Pakistan, okay? These are not places that you want to have fill these very important places of influence, because, like it or not, they're going to be there. Somebody has to sit at the head of the table. This isn't King Arthur. The table isn't fucking round. Not everybody is at the front of it. It's not a perception thing. There's one superpower in the world. There always has been. There always will be. I would just prefer it to be the United States. If we can start to shift the conversation to be something totally different, and we don't need to have that type of a situation, that sounds great. But the only alternative there is right now is socialism, which eventually leads to communism, which is, just China in a nutshell. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground on that one, and especially what Xi's looking at doing by redistributing the wealth within his own borders. Don't think that won't be the talking point of economists in the universities going forward, because, China is now the superpower in the world. Clearly that means that socialism is correct. And you know what he had to do in 2021 and 2022 in order to make sure that everybody has free and equal access to healthcare and concentration camps? He just had to redistribute all the wealth that was out there. He had to make sure that there was equal access to everybody, equal access to starve and get into those bread lines equally. But that got off on a tangent. Anyways, Biden also claimed, just like Biden, the Taliban is going through an existential crisis. How? And that the designated terror group isn't seeking a legitimate position on the global stage. They don't care about that, okay? There's a lot of things that Biden and his people care about that the Taliban don't, okay? Oh yeah, they're paying lip service, okay? They're saying, oh yes, women will be treated fairly, and then they forget that little extra part at the end. It's like the people who think that Scarface is some kind of an inspirational immigrant story, but then they fail to forget that the whore that he hooked up with was too polluted to have a kid, and that he ends up fucking face down in a fountain with bullet holes riddled through his back. It's a real inspirational story. God, you people are some fucking retarded sometimes. No, Taliban are gonna look after women under the auspices of Sharia law. Doesn't really, sound as good when you finish a sentence. But again, about that baffling interview with George Stephanopoulos, It was edited. It was pre-recorded Monday to be released last night, and still, it was riddled with mistakes and gaffes and snaps, and he doesn't have it anymore. There are some snap polls out there that really are starting to doubt that Biden's going to make it to the end of the term, okay? And I've always said I wish him the best of health. Hopefully he gets through the end, mostly because I want to see the rematch on equal footing with Trump. That would just be hilarious. But then at the same time, nobody could have foreseen this happening, and somebody has to take the fucking fall for this. So, will it be Biden? More than likely. Actually, no, not more than likely. That's just me hoping, but somebody's going to. It'll probably just end up being Miley or maybe Blinken, but that's about it. And old figurehead Joe will just be sitting there mumbling into his fucking alphabet cereal first thing in the morning and working 6-hour days. President Biden sat for an interview with ABC News host George Stephanopoulos, who used to work in the Clinton White House, on Wednesday to discuss the disaster unfolding in Afghanistan and his failure to prepare for the Taliban to seize control in the government. But the president struggled and frequently stammered through the interview, contradicting his previous statements with and getting basic facts wrong. So a day ending in Y for Joe. Biden claims there was no consensus among intelligence agencies that the Taliban would take control of Afghanistan. Who's giving you those talking points? And what decade was that in? Was that in the 80s or something? That sounds about right. Biden claims he has always said there was a real possibility that the Taliban would seize control of Afghanistan. That is a patent lie. There are several videos out there saying, no, it is not an inevitability. But it was, I guess he said that it was never really a real possibility. Okay, cool. Semantics, I guess. Biden defends withdrawal from Afghanistan as a simple choice, while also surging troops back into the region. Simple choice? Let's see. So Stephanopoulos' question. So when you look at what happened over the last week, it was a failure of intelligence, planning, execution, or judgment. Don't give me so many choices. I don't think it was it was a simple choice, George. When the Taliban let me back, put it another way. Oh my lord. Take two before he passes out. When you have the government of Afghanistan, the leaders of the government are getting a plane and taking off, and I like trains, and if you ever let kids play with your anyways, going to another country when you saw the significant collapse of the the people, Afghan troops, we had trained up to 300,000 of them, I think. He's just leaving the equipment and taking off, and yes, I'm not this, that's what happened. You'd hear more concise descriptions of what happened over the past 20 years in Afghanistan from a kindergarten student fresh off of Joe's lap after being sniffed. Biden claims Afghanistan had up to 300,000 troops trained by the United States. Military experts have pointed out that the 300,000 number is highly inflated, even counting ghost soldiers who were drawing paychecks but did not show up for duty. Biden claims the timeline for withdrawal in Afghanistan was firm, but it had changed multiple times. Yeah. Trump. May 1st, we're having everybody taken out, okay? We're drawing things down, and we have a plan. And Biden, we're just going to push that back, because nothing inflammatory will happen if we do it on the September the 11th, on the 200th anniversary of me being in the United States Senate. Biden claims military advisors did not warn against his withdrawal timeline. Oh, that's a lie. Biden's generals did argue that keeping troops in the region. The Wall Street Journal reported that the top general urged him to keep a force of 2,500 troops in Afghanistan to help maintain stability. Yeah, because that's the final thing you should withdraw, but I need not repeat myself again for another video. Biden claims he took precautions to the chaos in Afghanistan by sending in 6,000 troops in Afghanistan, only after things started to heat up. Biden claims no one was getting killed around the airport in Kabul, Afghanistan, despite reports of 12 deaths in the area, and 2 people falling from like 10,000 feet in the air after those C-17 bombers took off. But yeah, okay. On Thursday, NATO officials said that 12 people have been killed in and around the airport in Kabul since Sunday, prompting the Taliban to urge people to leave the airport. Oh, okay, but they're negotiating with them, so those 12 people need not exist, and we'll never really figure out who those people are. Anyways, Biden mistakenly claims the incident of people falling off the C-17 was already 4 or 5 days ago. It was 2 days ago, and dismissing something horrific like that as just being, that was was a while ago. Why'd you bring up old news? Well, we're talking to you, Joe, and you're old, so does that by proxy make you irrelevant? I'll take that. I'll take that trade. Biden stumbles over basic details of his son's deployment and the branch he served. God, that's just sad. Your son, who you parade whenever you find yourself in trouble, now you're starting to forget his service record. Oh, said today was going to be full of dubs, but that's just sad. Biden laughs off serious questions about American credibility in Asia and around the world. Yeah, they don't take you serious, Joe. Biden claims the Taliban was taking territory all throughout the country before Trump's May 1st deadline. Ooh, this was misleading. While the Taliban was active prior to Biden's decision to break the peace deal, now former Afghan government reported a significant surge in Taliban attacks following Biden's announcement he would stay in the country, documenting 22,000 attacks between April, when Biden broke the deal, and July. Yes, that's just not true. Biden claims that he could not have handled the exit from Afghanistan better. No mistakes. Do we need to get into the reasons why that was a lie? Biden indicates he's grateful to the Taliban and trusts them, despite repeatedly saying he does not trust them. Well, we don't know if the medication was wearing off by this point. He's getting fairly deep into the interview. Biden claims the Taliban is providing safe passage for Americans, even though the Americans say that they can't secure any sort of safety for people trying to get to the airport. Biden sends a message to the Afghan women and girls. Oh, Lord have mercy. It was part of the sentiment, but if they get to the airport in Kabul, they will be evacuated. You've seen all the pictures and you've seen the videos as well. They're standing outside those steel revolving doors and the razor wire, trying to chuck their kids over so at least maybe they could potentially get out. But yeah, no, if you get there, don't worry. They'll be helping you out, even though it's a first come, first served basis. And yeah, there's really no hope over there. What are you trying to talk about, Joe? Biden struggles with the idea of American troops remaining in Kabul after the August 31st deadline, but ultimately commits to breaking the deadline. Yeah, because we're told the Taliban, if they don't respect our deadline, there's going to be severe consequences. What are those severe consequences? We'll sanction them. We won't send them any more money. Ooh, that's all right. They already have like $30 million worth of shit from you anyways. Biden claims America does not have military troops in Syria. Yeah, the bombings would go ahead and contradict that on its face. Joe Biden claims the Taliban will not be the same as they were in 2001. That's correct. They're stronger now. Biden claims the mission in Afghanistan was accomplished and the nation building never made any sense to me, even though you voted for everything and you were literally on the wrong side of every major policy decision since you've taken public office. And again, Biden urges allies can trust the United States despite botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Why? What sort of faith would anybody have looking at the White House as it's constituted right now, okay? You let a whole bunch of sand people, real life fucking Star Wars Jawas come out from the fucking hills and run roughshod over the most sophisticated, largest, well-funded military in the fucking world, all because you wanted to stick it to Trump. That was it. That's the entire auspices of this. That's why all of those generals that were there, Miley, you remember, he so vividly loves to say that, oh, I was pushing back against Trump and I was telling him and his advisors, what the hell were you thinking? And this is fucking stupid. And then all of a sudden I want to learn about white rage. It's like, you can't, does that not commute? Or is that just one of those things that also has to be a requirement in order to get hired by the Biden administration, where you just talk out of one side of your mouth and then you do the things that you mention out of the other? It's old school political talk, but this is the return to normalcy. 81 million legitimate votes were cast in favor of. Sure. President Biden is insisting that American allies can still trust the United States despite the catastrophic evacuation in Afghanistan, adding that the Taliban, who are going through an existential crisis over how they will be viewed by the international community, they don't care. They don't fucking care. Because like we pointed out earlier, the world is falling for Taliban's inclusive language hoax. Just the people in control, which is still a big problem. But regular people, look at the guys who were there 20 years ago. You know, the ones with the honor killings, with the sharp, pointy rocks and the fucking burying women up to their necks and then just throwing shit at them, parading motherfuckers through the street that are tarred and feathered. Yeah, those people, they're all of a sudden, oh, you know, we got thrown out 20 years ago and now we're back based on the same things and the same principles that allowed us to get in there the first time. We've really learned and changed our ways over the past 20 years of hating America. And really, you know what? We're about ready to turn a new leaf. Is this thing off? These motherfuckers are so stupid. They're buying it all. My friend. Taliban leaders have repeatedly used public statements celebrating their takeover of Afghanistan this week to sell themselves as a reformed organization promising inclusive leadership, respect for women, and peace with its neighbors. Of course, they're not going to follow through any of this stuff. This is like brand new fucking shots because, yeah, this is exactly what they want, and this is the return to normalcy that they were expecting once Biden ascended to his golden throne. But yeah, just take them at face value. Everything that they're saying, they're going to be more inclusive. They're going to be, just nicer people to work with, obviously. Then why are they freeing all the prisoners that were in there? And now that there's an increased terror risk, apparently, like it says here, prisoners released by Taliban in Afghanistan pose serious concern to U.S. security. Republicans warn, or, reasonable people, or people who have even heard about this, because none of this stuff gets covered. All it is just the press conferences that the Taliban are allowed to host and promote on Twitter. Sure, they're banned on Facebook, Instagram, and a couple of other social media platforms, but all of their spokespeople, they aren't verified or anything, but they're still allowed to be on there because, they haven't said anything that violates the terms of service with the sympathetic ears over at Twitter. But yet those mongoloids are out there fucking face-checking or fact-checking memes at this point. But again, like what was mentioned before, where's Kamala? Where's the vice president and all this? You remember the first couple of weeks, the first couple of months even, there was nowhere that Joe couldn't go, and she wasn't right there. Everything just kind of seemed to ground to a halt. At least this is what I remember. And I don't know, I just, covered this stuff a lot. So maybe there's just a little gap in my memory as well. But right after she came back from delivering that, kind of Trumpian speech about how none of the immigrants should be coming up through the southern border and that they need to just stay where they're at. Do not come. You remember? It's been memed to death by everybody and their mother online. There's been reports that there's division in the White House, and take them for what you may, I suppose. It's like, once again, uncorroborated response, and it always does just seem a little bit possible, but again, if there's nothing that's verifiable, you can't really go with that. All you can do is just kind of assume there's a rift there, because she was right at Joe's hip. Everywhere he went, she was right there. She was literally in every fucking picture, and then all of a sudden, she's gone. So you gotta ask the question, why was she there all the time, and why is she not here anymore? Well, kind of see that, just put yourself in this situation as well, okay? You have the worst military failure since, at least, I don't know if it's better or worse than Vietnam. And do you want to attach yourself to that? Do you want to be seen in any of the pictures that are going to be in the history books teaching this fucking catastrophic event? Or do you just want to be waiting in the wings and just, trying to suck up to the right people, so when, God forbid, something happens to Joe, he ends up having to take the fall for this one, impeachment proceedings, or maybe he just realizes that there's way too much work in being the president and he's just going to go ahead and retire because he just wants to get a good night's sleep, man. And all of a sudden, now you, somebody who couldn't even get fucking 1% in the primary vote, are the astroturfed president. She is unliked by literally everybody, but she knows how to play the game, okay? She was the establishment's choice, okay? She was the favorite of all of those fucking deep state lizard people, whatever you want to call them. Okay, she was one of the favorites of Hillary Clinton out there. And that's another reason why I kind of just shudder to say anything bad about Joe, because I know Hillary would be the VP for Kamala Harris. That's not a future you want whatsoever. But she was always the establishment's choice, okay? She seemed like the front runner before Joe hopped in order to save the day for 2020. But then as soon as she got spit roasted by Tulsi Gabbard in the public, they brought on Mike Bloomberg and his billions of dollars and his super spectacular failure against Elizabeth Warren and everybody with eyes, because I don't know how you're the mayor of New York City and you can't do a fucking debate. Kamala was given every single opportunity to succeed despite having a wafer thin resume in order to achieve this great honor of being the first half Indian, first half black vice president. I don't know, but they really, okay, the deep state, the uniparty, they really want Kamala Harris in front on this one. That's why she's distancing herself. At least that's my opinion. And That would make a hell of a lot of sense. I don't have anything to go on this. All I'm doing is just trying to connect the dots. So, like I said, there's a whole bunch of shit that's going to be happening in the near future, and this situation is evolving at such a rapid rate. Making a prognostication on the future is a fool's errand at this point. I would have more faith in the local weather guy than I would in having any anonymous sources out there end up panning out to be true. But this is the craziest timeline, and 2021 has proved it is the two towers to 2020's Fellowship of the Ring, and not the Iron Man 2 to Iron Man 1. With that said, thank you very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Catch y'all later.